Hello and welcome everyone to our latest presentation on COVID-19, the pathway of destruction. What are the symptoms of COVID-19 and what are the presenting features? So, when a patient infected with COVID-19 sneezes or coughs, they release a lot of droplets. These droplets contain the coronavirus. So, when a healthy individual inhales this virus, they tend to infect the nasopharynx and the oropharynx. This is the place where the ACE2 receptors are mostly present. So, what happens is they reach the epithelial cells where they have the ACE2 receptors. So, the coronavirus attaches itself to the ACE2 receptor and enters the cell. Once it has entered the cell, it takes over the protein synthesis pathway, thereby producing multiple copies of coronaviruses. So now the virus is multiplying in the epithelial lining of the nasopharynx and the oropharynx, the upper respiratory tract. So at this time, the patient can have two things. After say 5 to 14 days, that is the proposed incubation period, the patient can be either asymptomatic or the patient can be symptomatic. That is, the patient will have fever, sore throat, or dry cough. So, in the initial phase, the virus primarily affects the upper respiratory tract, resulting in the initial symptoms of fever, sore throat, and dry cough. But this can be fought by the innate immunity. If the patient's innate immunity is strong, all this thing is relieved and the patient can get better with just mild symptoms or being asymptomatic. But this may not be true in all the cases. Sometimes the virus will overcome the innate immunity, especially in old patients or patients suffering from cardiovascular diseases. So in those cases, the virus, which is primarily present in the upper respiratory tract, enters the lower respiratory tract and the alveolus. So once it has entered the alveolus, it triggers an immune response, resulting in infiltration of the macrophages and the polymorphs. So once these immune cells enter the alveolus, they produce an inflammatory response. This inflammatory response will hamper the oxygen transfer inside the alveolus. Alveolus is the place where the oxygen exchanges with the carbon dioxide from the alveolus to the blood vessels. So what happens here is the oxygen transfer is affected because of the inflammatory response. So there are two mechanisms by which the oxygen transfer can be affected. The first is the presence of pus inside the alveolus. This is the presence of the inflammatory cells result in more production of mucus and inflammatory materials which obstruct the transfer of the oxygen from the alveolus to the blood vessels. Or there can be presence of clot in the vessels. These clotted vessels are unable to take up the oxygen and result in reduced oxygen entry into the blood. So basically two types of picture can emerge in the lungs in this particular disease. The first one is this, where the lung is primarily affected by small blood clots in the blood vessels, where the lung alveolus is mostly clear. Here you can see the lung appears black, which means the alveolus is clear. In these cases, the patient usually get better by just receiving oxygen through nasal cannula or face mask. This is a more severely affected lungs, where you can see the lung has completely become white, which means there is a presence of mucus and pus inside the alveolus. In these cases, the patients are more severe and they require ventilatory support. So why do some people have minor disease and some people have really severe disease and even death? So what basically happens is the patients who are very severe, they have to withstand a storm. This storm, which is because of the increased amount of inflammatory markers, and it is called the cytokine storm. It is a storm because of the uncontrolled immune response of the body to the virus, and this results in multi-organ dysfunction. So let's see what other organs are affected other than the lungs. In Italy, a 53-year-old lady walks into the emergency with symptoms of classical heart attack. ECG is done and high levels of blood markers suggest there is damage to the cardiac muscles or the patient has a myocardial infarction. But when the doctors inject dye into the coronary arteries of this patient, they do not find any block that would signify a cardiac arrest. They find no block in the arteries, but the patient turns out to be COVID-19 positive. In 25th of March, JAMA Cardiology found cardiac damage in nearly 20% of the patients admitted to Wuhan, China. In another Wuhan study, 44% of the 36 patients admitted to the ICUs had features of arrhythmia. This shows that heart is very much affected in COVID-19. Apart from heart, the kidneys are the next affected. These are the second most common cause of death in COVID-19. 59% of nearly 200 hospitalized patients in Hubei province had proteinuria, that is protein in urine, and blood in urine. And 27% had renal failure. So apart from the kidneys, the brain is also affected. Nearly 10% of the corona patients have neurological symptoms, that is encephalitis, seizures, and sympathetic storm. Apart from that, patients lose their sense of smell and taste. Apart from this, the ACE2 receptors are present in the neural cortex and the brain stem. This results in patient not feeling the dyspnea in spite of being hypoxemic. This is an MRI of a lady showing encephalitis features in patient with COVID-19. In early March, 71-year-old Michigan woman who returned from Nile River cruise presented with bloody diarrhea, vomiting, and abdominal pain. Initially, the doctor suspected that she had a common stomach bug like salmonella, but after that, she developed cough and patient took a nasal swab and found to be positive for the coronavirus. A stool sample came positive for the viral RNA, as well as there were signs of injury in the colon which were seen in the endoscopy, which pointed out to GI infection by the coronavirus. There is an abundance of ACE2 receptors in the GI epithelium. Viral RNA has been found in as many as 53% of the sampled patients' stool samples. A Chinese team reported that the virus protein shell in gastric, duodenal, and rectal cells in biopsy of a COVID-19 patient. The presence of virus in the GI tract raises unsettling possibilities that it could be passed on through feces, though it has not yet been confirmed by the scientists. So let's see which organs the coronavirus affects. It primarily affects the lungs. It is the most commonly affected, resulting in pneumonia and acute respiratory distress syndrome, that is ARDS, resulting in ventilatory support. Next, it affects the heart and the blood vessels, resulting in blood clots, heart attacks, and cardiac inflammation or myocarditis. The next organ that is affected are the brain. It results in stroke, seizures, confusion, and encephalitis, that is infection of the brain matter. The next affected are the eyes. It results in conjunctivitis. The nose can be affected, resulting in loss of sense of smell. The liver is affected. Up to half of the hospitalized patients have an enzyme levels that are significantly high, signaling a struggling liver. The kidneys, they are the next affected, that is acute kidney injury resulting in hemodialysis support, loss of protein in urine, proteinuria, or hematuria, that is blood in urine. Last but not the least, the intestines are affected. Biopsy data suggests that the virus can infect the lower respiratory tract where ACE2 receptors are abundant, and around 20% or more of the patients present with diarrhea in COVID-19. So to summarize, the map of destruction that the COVID-19 can inflict on the body is still just a sketch. It will take years of painstaking research to sharpen the picture of its reach, and the cascade of effects in the body is complex and interconnected system that it might set in motion. As science races ahead from probing tissues under microscope to testing drugs on patients, the hope is for treatment more wily than the virus that has stopped the world in its tracks. Thank you for your patience and check our website for further information.